Have you ever seen a little hero face something that seemed impossible? We're not talking about a dragon or a fictional monster, but a vacuum cleaner. A machine that roars like a beast and terrifies even the bravest of cats. Tommy, a cat with bright orange fur and watchful eyes, wasn't known for being fearful. He had a curious spirit, but always knew to keep his distance from the noisy monster that invaded his home. One day, everything changed. The vacuum wasn't just an annoying racket this time. It had stolen something very special. Lila, his best feline friend, was devastated. Her favorite toy, a small stuffed mouse she carried everywhere, had been swallowed by the machine. It wasn't just a toy, it was a symbol of comfort and happiness for her. While Lila hid away, teary-eyed, and Max, the playful one of the group, fell silent for the first time, Tommy knew he had to act. He looked around, saw the fear in the other cat's eyes, and made a decision that would change everything. Even though he was small, Tommy was determined to face what everyone else feared. This wouldn't be an ordinary battle. It was time to prove that true courage doesn't come from size, but from the heart of those who dare to fight. Tommy wasn't the kind of cat to get scared easily. With his orange fur and bright eyes, he had always been deeply curious about the world around him. But the vacuum, that monster with wheels and noise, was a whole different story. Every time the deafening sound filled the house, Tommy would shrink back, watching from afar while the other cats ran for cover. But that day, the vacuum did something unforgivable. It took Lila's toy, the shy little kitten who always sought comfort in that stuffed mouse. Tommy saw the desperation in her eyes. His friends, normally so brave, were visibly shaken. But he knew he couldn't just watch anymore. If no one else had the courage, he would do whatever it took. The vacuum had already shown its power, but Tommy was determined to prove that even the smallest of cats could be braver than any machine. He was about to embark on an adventure no one expected. It's turning into a really cool story, isn't it? Leave a comment and let me know what you think. Don't worry, stay with me because the story is still going on, and there's lots of exciting stuff coming up. Tommy took a deep breath and looked at the monster that terrified him. The vacuum cleaner sat in the living room like a massive beast, its shiny wheels reflecting the light of the room, while the cord stretched out like a threatening tongue, waiting to devour anything in its path. The familiar, frightening sound still echoed through the house. But at that moment, something ignited in Tommy's heart. He knew that monster couldn't keep terrorizing his friends. If no one else had the courage, he would face it alone. Tommy cautiously approached, taking slow, steady steps. The fear was still there, but he couldn't let it control him. He looked at his friends, all huddled in a corner of the room. Lila, the gray-furred kitten, was still lying down, clutching her lost toy, her big eyes full of sadness. Max, the mischievous white cat, was tense, his whiskers stiff and his posture defensive. The entire house seemed to have gone silent, everyone waiting for Tommy to take action. It was then that Tommy had an idea. He knew that the only way to get Lila's toy back was to disable that monster once and for all. But how? He couldn't just jump on it like he did with his toys. He had to be smarter. He went over to the corner of the room and with a graceful leap, jumped onto the sofa, where he began to study every movement of the machine with meticulous attention. Tommy watched the buttons, the cord, and especially the vacuum tube, which was swallowing everything in its path. After several minutes of intense focus, Tommy realized there was one part of the vacuum that could be the key to defeating it, the off button. But it was hidden behind a small cover that almost seemed invisible. He knew this would be the biggest challenge yet, and it would take more than just courage. He'd need to be fast, agile, and above all, very, very careful. The moment was nearing. He had to act before the monster started again and swallowed everything in its path. He couldn't let Lila be without her toy, and he couldn't let the vacuum win. He was determined to restore peace and safety to his home. With one last look at his friends, who were watching in silence, Tommy made his first move. He leaped to the floor and slowly approached the back of the vacuum. His heart raced, but Tommy was ready. He had made his decision. Today, he would not be the scared cat hiding in the shadows. He would be the hero everyone needed. Tommy, his eyes fixed on the monster, took another step closer to the vacuum. Every movement was carefully calculated. The hum of the motor was growing louder, as if the vacuum itself was preparing to begin its destructive routine. But none of this fazed Tommy. He knew this was the pivotal moment. He would have to be quicker than ever, smarter than the monster that challenged him. With his tail raised and his muscles tensed, Tommy got even closer, until he was right beside the vacuum. He could feel the vibrations of the machine on the floor, the screeching sound intensifying with every passing second. His fur stood on end, but he didn't hesitate. He knew the only way to defeat the monster was to disconnect it, and for that, he needed to reach the off button. The problem was, the button was hidden behind a cover that seemed too small for his delicate whiskers and paws. He studied the area around it carefully, finally realizing that he had a chance. Tommy made a small leap, using his feline agility, and with one of his front paws began trying to pry off the cover hiding the button. It wasn't easy. The vacuum was heavier than he thought, and the cover seemed resistant, as if it was guarding the secret of the monster. But Tommy wasn't willing to give up. Every second that passed, Lila grew sadder, and the vacuum kept threatening his home. Tommy knew he needed to end this, and fast. With a gentle press of his claws, he finally managed to lift the cover. His eyes shone with joy as he saw the round red button right there within his reach. Tommy's heart raced with emotion. He was so close to victory. But just as he was about to press it, the vacuum, as if it had a life of its own, emitted an even louder noise, and the machine jerked, as if trying to escape. Tommy didn't hesitate. With one final surge, he pressed the button. A deep thud echoed through the room. In an instant, the house fell silent. The monster that had haunted them all was finally still. The vacuum, motionless and soundless, lay completely inert. Tommy, with a triumphant look, turned to his friends. Lila, who had been tearfully staring at the vacuum, now had a spark of joy in her eyes. She ran to Tommy, her tiny paws quick, and with a soft meow, she jumped to hug him. "You did it, Tommy," she exclaimed, her eyes shining with gratitude. Max, the mischievous cat, also approached, clapping with his front paws. He didn't know what else to say. He simply knelt in front of Tommy, acknowledging his friend's bravery. But the true hero of the story was there, in the center of the room, chest puffed out with pride. Tommy, the small cat who faced the monster and saved the day, knew his mission was complete. The vacuum, now still and harmless, was no longer a threat, and the house, safe again, could return to its normal rhythm, filled with laughter and play, free from the constant fear of the machine. Tommy had shown that despite his size, he had a heart as big as anyone and the courage to face any challenge. He looked at his friends one more time, and a smile seemed to light up his feline face. The true strength doesn't lie in size, but in the determination to do what is right. And in that moment, Tommy knew he would always be the hero in his own world. Hey, are you enjoying this story? That's so cool. Let's keep going. But before we do, I noticed you haven't left a like on this video yet. It's really important because that way, YouTube will keep showing you our cute kitten stories. And with that, we'll keep bringing you more exciting stories. So don't forget to leave your like, okay? Thanks. The silence that followed was almost surreal. Tommy, the little hero, stood there with his paws firmly planted on the ground, as if he were absorbing the magnitude of what he had just done. His heart was still racing, but not from fear or anxiety, but from pure adrenaline and victory. He had defeated the monster. The vacuum cleaner, that terrible metal monster that threatened everyone's safety, was finally silenced. Tommy couldn't help but feel invincible in that moment. Lila, still perched on top of Tommy, couldn't stop purring with joy. She looked at him with an admiration that seemed endless. As if he were more than just a simple cat, he was the hero they all needed. Max, Tommy's mischievous friend, was no longer trying to catch the toys scattered across the floor. His eyes were fixed on Tommy, as if he were witnessing the greatest achievement of his life. But the real impact of what Tommy had done only began to show when the sparkle in Lila's eyes turned into something even stronger. She jumped off Tommy's lap and ran to the corner of the room, where a small star-shaped button, hidden under a pile of books, was waiting to be pressed. Lila, with a serious expression on her face, looked at Tommy and asked with a nearly desperate tone, "Have you seen this before, Tommy?" Tommy, even as the fatigue started to set into his muscles, shook his head. He didn't know what it meant, but something in Lila's gaze told him that the mission wasn't over. She pressed the button, and suddenly, a secret door opened in the corner of the room, revealing a dark passage that descended into the unknown. "This is it," Max said, finally walking over. "This has always been here, and we never knew it existed. But now, with the vacuum off, maybe it's time to find out what's behind it." Tommy felt a mix of curiosity and fear. The night was still far from over, and the real challenge, the one he had never imagined, was still waiting inside that secret passage. The three cats looked at each other, knowing that Tommy's courage had opened a new chapter in their lives. The real adventure was about to begin. And who knew what else the future held for these feline friends? The night was far from over, and the darkness in the passage seemed inviting, as if the unknown was eager for new heroes to explore it. Tommy, with a firm stance and a determined look, turned to his friends. "Let's find out what's down there," he said, his voice determined but with a slight quiver. He knew the adventure hadn't ended with the vacuum, but that what was to come would be something even greater. The monster in the room may have been defeated, but the real challenges awaited. And with those thoughts, and the unwavering spirit of one who had already won the greatest battle of his life, Tommy took the first step toward the future, not knowing what lay ahead, but confident that together they could face anything. Tommy, Lila, and Max descended through the secret passage, their hearts pounding, yet unwavering courage guiding each step. As the dim light of a faint lamp illuminated the way, the secret room revealed itself, filled with mysteries and ancient secrets. In the back, a massive toy box was covered in a layer of dust, and in the center, a table with enigmatic symbols carved into the walls. Tommy looked at his friends, and with a smile, he knew that his mission was far from over. He had faced the vacuum cleaner, but the true hero wouldn't be measured only by bravery in times of fear. Tommy understood that true courage lay in continuing, in exploring the mysteries, and in never giving up. The night may have started with a simple confrontation, but now, with his friends by his side, Tommy realized that the greatest adventure was the one still to come. And he, the brave Tommy, was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Because he knew that a hero's true strength didn't come from physical power, but from the courage to press on, no matter what challenges arose. So with their eyes shining with determination, they prepared for the next chapter of their incredible story. And you, what did you think of this story? Let us know in the comments which part you liked the most and why. We're excited to hear your thoughts. If you liked this story, don't forget to leave a like and tell everyone. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing adventures of our cute little cats. Comment below and tell me what you think. Your opinion is really important to us. Come join our group of cat lovers and help spread smiles and cuteness around.